snow fell over New London Colony like drifting silver dust, settling on neon street signs and shimmering off the glass towers that lined Aurora Avenue. Christmas lights and old Earth tradition revived by colonists winkled across every balcony and bridge. Despite the chill, the cafes remained warm, their windows glowing softly like beacons of comfort inside one such cafe. Stellar Hearth, Sut Sarathan Vela known as Sarah among humans. She was a dragonid woman, tall and elegant, with ruby-scaled skin that shimmered like molten metal, horns that curved gracefully behind her head, and luminous gold eyes that softened. Only when she tried to smile, tonight was supposed to be her first blind date with a human man, but he had already left the untouched coffee across from her. Seat had barely stopped steaming when he muttered something about not expecting her to look so alien and hurried out into the snow. The door's chime was still fading when Sarah's heart sank. She tried to maintain her composure, folding her hands, the scales on her knuckles dimming. Sarah had lived among humans for 5 years. She spoke their languages, worked beside them, fought beside them during the Rift-Quake invasion. But still, the old prejudice returned like winter frost. She stared at the twinkling lights outside and whispered to herself, maybe some people just aren't ready. At the far corner of the cafe, Jack Rylan, a retired human veteran, watched quietly. He wasn't eavesdropping, just observant. Jack had seen her date walk out, seen the way Sarah's fiery aura dimmed like a dying star. He recognized that look, the quiet ache that visited those who carried their loneliness with honor. Jack didn't approach. Not yet. He believed everyone deserved the space to breathe. A soft bell rang as the door opened again, letting in a rush of cold air and a small figure wrapped in a puffy coat, a little girl, no more than 6. With dark curls and bright, curious eyes, stepped inside. She stomped snow from her boots and looked around as if searching for something lost. Jack immediately stood. Sarah, that you again? The girl CHIRPD. Sarah blinked, confused. I'm not sure we've met. Oh, the girl giggled. Mommy said to look for a lady who looked like a Christmas dragon. That must be you. Sarah froze. Christmas? Dragon? No one had ever compared her to something so human. So warm. Jack watched, eyes widening. Sarah, he murmured under his breath, I think she means you literally look like the holiday decorations. The little girl nodded eagerly. Mommy said dragons are cool and beautiful, and if I ever see one sitting alone, I should ask if they want company. So she tugged Sarah's sleeve. Can we join you? Sarah felt the world tilt. Of course, she whispered. You may. The girl beamed and hopped into the empty chair. Jack stood awkwardly nearby, unsure if he should step in or walk away. But the girl looked up at him and announced, Mr. Jack, you too. Mommy said lonely people shouldn't be lonely on Christmas Eve. Sarah blinked. You know him? The girl nodded. Jack lives upstairs from us. He fixes our heater for free. Jack rubbed the back of his neck. Well, I guess I'll join you both then. And just like that, the table meant for a failed date became something better, a shared refuge. Quiet conversation begins. The little girl introduced herself as Milla. And Sarah couldn't help noticing how fearless she was. Human children were often curious, but Milla looked at Sarah like she was a miracle. Not a monster? So, Milla asked, swinging her legs, why are your eyes shiny? Sarah smiled gently. Because we dragonids see heat as well as light. Your cheeks are warm, you must have been running. Milla gasped. You can see heat? That's so cool. Can you see my thoughts too? Only if you write them down and hold them very close, Sarah joked. Jack burst out laughing. That's the best answer I've heard all week. Sarah felt something flicker inside, something she thought she'd lost. A sense of belonging, the veteran and the dragon as Milla colored pictures on her tablet. Jack and Sarah found themselves talking, really talking. Jack learned that Sarah was a xenobiologist, specializing in interspecies medicine. Sarah learned that Jack was a former Marine, discharged after the invasion, trying to rebuild his quiet life. People feared dragonids once, Jack admitted. But your kind saved half the colony during the Quake Wars. Doesn't stop idiots from being idiots, though? Sarah folded her hands. It's hard to be different, especially during holidays that celebrate togetherness. Jack looked at her with soft, honest eyes. Difference isn't the problem. Cruelty is. Her throat tightened. You say that like it's easy to change. Jack shook his head. No, but it's easier with company. His words landed gently. Like warm embers settling in snow. The little girl's Wishmilla suddenly climbed onto her chair and stretched toward Sarah. Miss Dragon Lady, she declared, I wish you were my aunt. Sarah nearly choked. Aunt? Yeah. You're shiny and warm and nice? Mommy says those are the best things for an aunt. Jack grinned. She's got good taste. Sarah felt the glow returning to her scales literally. Dragonids radiated heat when emotionally moved, their bioluminescence responding like living lanterns. The cafe patrons glanced over, murmuring in awe rather than fear. For the first time tonight, Sarah didn't dim the glow. Milla reached for her hand. We're going to the colony tree lighting after this. Can you come? Sarah hesitated. Jack stepped in. You don't have to say yes because you feel bad, but you'd be welcome. Something warm flooded her chest. She wasn't being pitied. She was being invited. A Christmas unexpected outside. The colony's great tree shimmered with holographic constellations. Glowing like a map of the stars dragonids once called home, Milla danced ahead, chasing falling snowflakes. Jack walked beside Sarah, their steps quiet, deliberate. You know, Sarah murmured, I never imagined my evening ending like this. Jack's breath fogged in the air. Blind dates are overrated anyway. Sarah laughed softly. And what would you recommend instead? Jack met her eyes, calm, steady, genuine. Real company. Real kindness. Real conversation. Things your date apparently didn't value. Sarah looked at him, truly looked. I think I would like that. Jack offered his hand, not boldly, but gently, an invitation, rather than a claim. Sarah placed her hand in his. Their fingers fit, and the glow of her scales, reflected off the snow like miniature suns. Milla spun around and gasped. Jack, Sarah, you look like Christmas lights. And for the first time in a long, long while, Sarah believed she was exactly where she was meant to